Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Amber and today I have some Dollar Tree Valentine DIYs. So I'm going to start out with this wreath form from Dollar Tree. I go ahead and scrunch it up and zip tie it to get started. So once I get my first loop secured, starting from the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and start pushing up some loops through the bottom of my wreath form and just scrunching it up, going back and forth between that middle section and the outside section of my wreath form, and I just go back and forth until my wreath is fully covered with the burlap. As I push my loops through, I go ahead and give them a quick fluffing and just push them back, and I pretty much hold them in place until I get to my next little section where the bar crosses, so I can put another zip tie there. So once I reach a good stopping point here, I do add a zip tie. I feel like adding a zip tie to every little crossbar holds my little scrunchy loops in place. I don't sell this in my booth. This is just for me personally, but there might be a better way to secure these. This is just my way. And I do continue this process until I get all the way around my wreath form. I used about 2.5 rolls of burlap, and I paid very inexpensive for these burlaps because I did pick them up in fall. If you were using, say for example, the mesh from Dollar Tree, which I've done that before as well, I believe that takes about 5.5 rolls if you do this method. I will say that the Dollar Tree mesh is very thin, and that's why I say 5 or 6 rolls, because I feel like you can scrunch it enough to where you won't see your wreath form through your mesh. And once I come to the end of my wreath form, I do add a couple more zip ties to the end of my burlap where I cut it, just to make sure it is secured. And I do love the blue and white print for Valentine's decor. I know it's not very traditional, but I do love it. This heart I also picked up at the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to go ahead and use this napkin, which I picked up, I believe, at Tuesday morning last year. But any design that you want to use will work. I just love the blue and white. So these napkins here were 3-ply. I go ahead and take off the extra 2-ply, and I'm just using the top layer of my napkin. So I'm going to start off by adding some Mod Podge, a thin layer, to my wooden heart. So I go ahead and lay my napkin down, give it a quick pat using just my fingers. Then I will grab a piece of plastic and I'll go ahead and try and smooth out all my wrinkles. And this was just a plastic bag I had close by, but you can use saran wrap. It's just a barrier between your napkin and your fingers, so the napkin doesn't stick and you're able to smooth out all the wrinkles. So I do work in sections, so I'm adding the Mod Podge to the other half of my heart, and then I will lay down my napkin to the second half. And once I have given my napkin plenty of time to dry, I'll go ahead and sand off all the excess napkin. And if this looks familiar, last year on my channel I made a wreath the shape of an egg for spring using this very napkin. I just ended up loving it that much that I decided that I wanted to have one for Valentine's Day as well. And I also feel that this could also transition into spring decor. Just because it's a heart doesn't mean that you can't use it for spring. And as always, I do end up aging the edges here with some Distress Oxide from Hobby Lobby. So I picked up this heart ribbon lace from the Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the back of the edges of my heart. So this little heart trim gave it the very dainty look that I was going for. I really love how this is coming out. Let me know what you guys think. So I do end up just gluing my heart to my burlap, but if this is going to go outdoors or like on your front door, I would probably secure it with something a little bit more stronger, maybe like a pipe cleaner or something. This is going to stay indoors for me, so I think the glue will work just fine. So in my last video, I did use pearl bead like garland for my fox mantle. So to bring in the pearls into this look, I'm going to go ahead and add these half beads that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. And I pretty much use it throughout the rest of the video, just to tie them in with the decor that I have on the mantle. And then I just want to add a little bow to my heart here. So I'm going to end up bringing my ribbon crossed over each other and then scrunching it in the center. I will go ahead and tie that off with a thread to create my bow. So I go ahead and embellish my bow with a same little pearl bead and then add a hanger to my wreath, and then this DIY is all done. Next up, I'm going to create a garland to go along with my heart wreath. And I'm going to go ahead and start off by using a thin layer of Mod Podge, and then I'm going to go ahead and decoupage the same print napkin onto my heart. So same process here. I'm going to lay it onto my heart, go over it to smooth out all the wrinkles with a piece of plastic, and then sand off all the excess with a sanding block. So for the inside little cutout of the heart, I saw somebody do this technique. They used a lighter to burn off the excess napkin like on a letter cut out from Dollar Tree, and it basically cleaned up all the edges without having to do any sanding. So I tried it on this heart and I'm not sure how I feel about this. I guess I kept the lighter on too much on some of my hearts because it has burn marks. But I'm not sure. Have you guys tried this technique? If so, what do you think about it? So I do end up just doing that technique on 4 of my hearts, and I use some Distress Oxide to kind of blend in the burn mark. And I just do 4 and 4, 4 with the cutout and 4 without, and just use them just like that on my garland. So I did end up having an extra pack of this ribbon lace. I do end up using this as the string to my garland. I just glue my wood hearts onto this, and that is what holds up my garland. Then I just add a little bead to the center of my heart just to tie in the pearls, and then I'll be all done. Next up, I'm going to use this little wooden box that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start giving it a coat of truffle, focusing mainly on the back of my box. Now I do start off painting it brown, but then I quickly changed my mind. You will see that I end up painting it white towards the end. And I leave this part in only to show that just because you paint something and you don't like it doesn't mean it's all ruined. It's just paint. Just repaint it and start over. Now for the bottom of my box, I do paint it white. I plan on decoupaging that same blue and white napkin on the front of my wooden box. And right about now is where I start hating the brown and I paint it white. So using the same method that I always use when I decoupage, I'm adding a thin layer of Mod Podge, and then I will add my napkin straight over and then use a piece of plastic to smooth out my wrinkles. So I end up sanding off the excess napkin, and on those scalloped edges on the top of my box, I figured I'd try this burn method again. And as you can see, it cleans it up so nice and quick, but I end up getting the burn marks again on the top of the scallops. So I'm not sure if I'm doing it wrong or what, but I do like how it cleans it up. So I just used some Distress Oxide to blend in those burn marks. So I create another little bow using that same ribbon that I've been using, and I just glue that to the front of my box with the same little pearl beads. So my original idea for this was to add some little cards that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. They came like in a little mason jar in the Valentine section. It had little date night ideas. I figured I could hang this on the fridge with the little cards inside, but they turned out being a little too small. So I ended up using this greenery from some Christmas garland. I just cut a couple pieces off and stuck them right in. Now, if you wanted to create your own date night cards, I feel like that would be super cute. I do end up leaving the greenery and just adding these little felt hearts to my greenery. I just age them up again a little with some Distress Oxide so they're not so bright, and I add them to my greenery. And here is the end result. And for my last DIY, I'm going to create some little bowl fillers using these little snack containers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well. So since these are plastic and kind of very shiny, I just use this sanding block and give them a quick scuff sand. I give them a quick wipe down, and then using this sponge, I'm just going to use a stippling motion to paint my hearts here just to create a little bit of texture. And I do 2 coats on each heart. So again, using that blue and white floral napkin, I'm going to go ahead and trace out the hearts and cut them out, and that is what I'm going to decoupage to the top of my plastic hearts. So we're going to start off with a thin layer of Mod Podge. So when laying down my napkin, I do try and focus my points of my heart to line up with the plastic one. And then I use the plastic just to smooth out any wrinkles. So I do end up hot gluing my little containers closed with some hot glue. So next up, I decide to trim out my heart here with some of this beaded trim that I picked up at the thrift store. Using some hot glue, I'm going to add it to the edge of my heart and then add my pearl beads. I will say that if you try to create your own with this little hearts here, I would probably use the E6000 from the jewelry section. That one comes with a very fine tip, and you won't get the glue seeping underneath your beads like you do with hot glue, but that's totally up to you. And using this bigger beaded trim, I'm gonna go ahead and cover up the seam where my 2 hearts meet. So to cover up that little hanger hole it has on the top of my heart, I just create a bow and add it to the very top of that, and then I embellish it with a bead as well, and then I'll be all done. And as we come to an end on this video, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here and taking the time to watch these videos. If you like what you see, please subscribe and follow for more. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.